Hey everyone, welcome back to the ScrapbookPal YouTube channel. It's Safia here today, sharing with you a card I'm making with Lawn Fawn's Capybaras stamp set and dies. And also I am using the little river valley scene, the horizontal one, and the matching dies for the capybaras. I really like horizontal cards, and so I decided to go with the horizontal one, but there's also one available in the portrait format if you're looking for that. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. I know this is the second time in a row that you are probably seeing me today on the channel. But I'm happy because I like my Lawn Fawn critters, and this card was actually so joyous for me to make. I really enjoyed it, and that's what card making is all about. You really want to have a good time when you're doing it, so use the products that you love. So anyways, I'm going ahead and stamping out all of the images in the stamp set. I think the only thing I didn't do is the apple and the grad hat, but that's because I'm not making a graduation card. I just wanted to make a birthday card. But I find that when you stamp out all of the images, it's just better because then you have more stuff to work with. And if you don't end up using it all, you can always just make a second card. So for my capybaras, I decided to do the E40s. I started with my darkest for the nose part on them. So I did the E47, the E44, and the E43 for the nose. And then for the body, I'm doing E42, E41, and E40. And I'm just starting with my darkest and blending with my lightest. That E40 there is a little bit white and it looks a little bit odd as you're putting it on, but once it's on, it looks, you just gotta let it sit for a while and then it actually looks like a really nice blend. For the blush, I used R22 and I didn't bother coloring all of them on camera. I just did the one to show you how I did it. And then I did the rest of them off camera. So just to save some time in the video. Usually when you're doing a really intricate card like this where there's a lot of different elements that you have to color, I just like to show you what I'm doing for one of them. And so you kind of get the idea for the rest. So now over here, I'm making a little strawberry shortcake. I wanted to include that. I am not coloring in the candles because my plan is to take that top piece and layer it over the bottom to make kind of a taller cake. And then I'm using these same colors, the R20 family for my reds, and the YG17 and the YG03 for my greens. And then for the bottom of that cake there, I actually used YR20 and YR00. And then for everything else, I'm kind of trying to stick with the same colors just so you don't need a million colors if you're following this card and wanting to make it exactly like this. For the blue bird, I used B02 and B00, and then again YR20 for that belly. And then I'm just cutting everything out. Now we're going to start on the background piece here. I've cut that out in some vanilla cardstock. I didn't realize that the sky and the river get cut out separately, but that actually made me really happy because now I don't have to use a panel underneath and guess where I need to stop everything. I can just color in the panels that cut out and turn that into the sky and the river. So I wanted to make a multicolored sky, and so I'm using some blue, purple, and some pink distress ink here. I will link the colors that I used in the description below if you're looking to pick it up. For that bottom layer, I didn't have enough space to add another part of that stencil, the Lawn Fawn Cloudy stencil, and so I just used the pink at the bottom very lightly to kind of make it look like it's blending. And then I spilled some blue ink on my glass mat there, and so I just used it to splatter some blue onto the sky, and that is my sky piece. I'm using the same blue that I used in the sky for the river. I'm trying to do the edges a little bit darker and leaving the center a little bit more light just to give it some dimension. And then again, using just plain water to splatter on top of there to give it some texture. Now for this background piece, I wanted the border to stay white so that it's a nice contrast with the sky and all of the colors that I'm using on this card. And so I started by doing just the very edges of the grass in green, and I thought I would leave the middle parts a little bit more empty, but as I started coloring it, I didn't like how it looked. I did want the green to go all the way to the edge, and so I just took some washi tape and stuck it on the edges of my card so that I wouldn't color over the border. And this is a really nice trick if you want your border to stay white but still have the middle part colored in. And I know not everybody has those framed rectangle stitch dies, and if you have that, you could just cut out the frames and glue it on top. But if you don't, then yeah, just use some washi tape to keep those edges nice and white. So now I'm going to start assembling this card. I'm just using a white card base here for the background, and I'm going to start by gluing down the frame part. I debated putting this on some foam, but I didn't want those middle pieces to look odd when I tried to stick them down underneath, and so I just decided to go with some liquid glue and glue that flat down right onto the card base. It's nice to use a block there just so you don't get any glue on your hands. I really like that. So now I'm just putting in my sky bit, and then I'm also going to come in and put in the river bit next. Before I did that, I did make I used those little splash dies to make little holes in them just so I can make some capybaras kind of floating in the river. And so I did 3 of the holes, but I just put 2 capybaras in the water. And then I took those green pieces that came, the greenery pieces, and I stuck those kind of in behind the water areas there. So now I'm just, after I stuck that in, you don't really need to glue them down. They stick in pretty well. Now I'm just going to glue the river scene down fully, and that'll secure the capybaras and the little greenery pieces and the rock. You don't have to add any additional glue. Also, it's a little less flat when you don't add glue to every little piece there. So now I'm just putting in all of the finishing touches. I put some hats on those capybaras. I'm layering up my cake, and that's why those candles are kind of gone. That's where I put my glue. And the mini hats to the very little capybaras in the water there. Yeah, I think they all look ready for a nice celebration. It was cool to give all of them a hat. I guess the one guy in the corner there doesn't have a hat, but there's always that one person at the party who doesn't want to wear a hat, so he can be that guy. So now I'm just putting my tree. I kind of wanted that in the background and off to the side, so I'm just going to glue that down. And for that, I did color the tree bark in the same E40 color, and then for the tree top, I just used my Mowed Lawn Distress ink to brush some ink on there. And now I'm just getting all of those capybaras on. The one that's sleeping by the tree, I just did with liquid glue, and the rest, or the ones up top, I did on some foam squares, and the cake as well was on some foam squares. And then the little guy that's standing off to the side, I ended up doing that with just some liquid glue as well, just so it wouldn't look like the only capybara that's not in liquid glue. I just wanted to make it equal. For the greeting, I'm doing "Have a very Cappy Birthday," and I just layered the stamp on top of the stamps on top of each other and then stamped it. And then I thought it'd be fun to use a few more of the stamps on here, so I did a little "Cappy Birthday to You," like he's singing it. as he's up there. I thought that was really cute. And then I took some of those music notes and kind of stamped those all around. This is actually what makes a Lawn Fawn card, is when you use all of the little stamps in there. It really helps bring everything together and make that scene look so full and fun and pretty. And that's kind of what Lawn Fawn does for me. And so, yeah, as you can see there, I added the little, what are those things called? I don't even know. But I know they get all splattered around during a party. So I hope you've enjoyed my card. If you have, please subscribe to the ScrapbookPal YouTube channel. And here's a couple of other videos for you if you want to keep watching. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.